Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
People who cut off their family, what did they do to you?
Experience 1. Grew up in an explosive and abusive household. When I was finally able to move out, I started slowly distancing myself. Mom went off the deep end. Started out accusing me of sleeping with every single person I know, yes, every person, coming up with outlandish stories for why I was an awful person, and threatening self-deletion. When I cut her off completely, she started stalking me. I changed my number and moved to a new state. I did not give anyone, including my brother, my new home address, and started receiving cards in the mail from her last year. Experience 2. My mother used to beat the crap out of me on a daily basis. Lashed out for no reason other than me being a child. Woke me up in the middle of the night to give me cold showers because I did something she judged to be out of line. It was really BS reasons most of the time. Put my face in a garbage full of maggots because I forgot to tie the garbage bag before putting it in the bin. Mind you, I was still a child. She always did this when no one was home, and I was so afraid to say anything that my sister and dad didn't know it was happening until I told them a few years ago. I'm 29 now, with BPD, PTSD, and anxiety because of all of this. I'm still struggling with all the emotions I lived during my childhood. To this day, she still doesn't understand why I don't want anything to do with her. She still calls my sister to get her to convince me to get in contact with her. My sister hasn't nagged me with this since she found out what happened. Now I'm living with my girlfriend, who is the most wonderful and loving person ever. I'm glad I don't live in fear anymore. Edit, well, this really blew up overnight. Thank you all for your kind words and support. To the person suggesting therapy, don't worry, it's already going on and I have a psychiatrist. BPD is a borderline personality disorder, and no, it's not genetic, well, mostly. Mine was developed through repeated trauma. Again, thank you all for the love, it really warms my heart. Experience 3. I was 10 years old. I was given to a 34-year-old man to be his third wife. My parents were so happy because it was a great honor to them that I was chosen out of all of the girls there to be with the man who was second in charge. I was smuggled out a month before my 13th birthday. Was deprogrammed and tried to end my own life when I was 16 because of what I went through. I'm still alive. I'll be 49 this year. I don't know if my parents are even alive. Experience 4. I found out my dad wasn't really my dad, and then my mother proceeded to lie about what actually happened. I experienced a childhood full of physical and verbal abuse, but he never laid a hand on my sisters. Now I know why. I corroborated the truth via other family members before cutting off all contact with mom and dad, still close with my sisters though. Experience 5. My cousin had addiction problems and just burned every bridge in our family. Used to be we'd buy him food and stuff he needed instead of just giving him money because it'd go straight to more drugs, but he eventually became so toxic we couldn't even do that. Experience 6. My father was an abusive alcoholic who left us when I was a teen after several self-deletion attempts. He was clearly not okay mentally. We reconnected in my early 20s, and when I finally started to build my trust for him again, he disappeared. He tried to reconnect with me a year later when he needed something. I haven't spoken to him since then. Edit, he attempted self-deletion. Experience 7. My cousin, still a 12-year-old child at this point, lost both her parents and the family had to help her sell her parental house. Long story short, one of my aunts secretly sold the house without telling anyone and kept the profit of $250,000 for herself. Everyone thought the house was still up for sale until the real estate agent informed my cousin's actual guardian, a different aunt, that my other aunt had sold the house and he thought it was sketchy. The good news though, my aunt was sued, had to pay everything back, and the $250K was directly deposited into my cousin her bank account, and my aunt received an additional $50K fine she had to pay my cousin and guardian aunt for emotional damage. We do not speak about this aunt anymore. Edit 1. For clarification, how it was even possible in the first place. It is complicated due to my late uncle and aunt's will. My cousin had two guardians after her parents' death. One was her general guardian, Aunt X. My cousin would move into their family home, and that aunt was made responsible for her school, her therapy, sports, social life, etc. The other guardian was my married-into uncle, my evil aunt, her husband. He was very good with finances, so he was made my cousin her financial guardian because my late uncle and aunt didn't want anyone to take advantage of my cousin in case of becoming an orphan, so two guardians they trusted would make it safe. So, my evil aunt and her evil husband had access to all documents, keys, and accounts, like my Aunt X. They had secret house viewings, found a buyer, had the new buyers sign forged papers, my evil aunt forged Aunt X her signature, had the new buyers deposit the money directly to their bank account, gave the new buyers the green light to move in, went to the real estate agent and said,
"We don't need you anymore. We already sold it, and here you see Aunt X signed as well."
That is where the real estate agent thought it was sketchy and thought to call Aunt X to thank her for the collaboration and wish her well now that it is sold. Mind you, the new buyers of the house were also victims here. But they were given their money back and bought the house back via the correct way. Edit 2. My evil aunt said she needed some money, and her husband was good with finances, so they could borrow the money, whilst my uncle would borrow the rest of the money, turn it into stock, and make a profit to pay the borrowed money back. So, the judge asked how much profit they intended to make before telling anyone about their scheme. Well, if you think making $50,000 in profit was worth stealing and lying to a 12-year-old orphan niece of yours, that is what you will pay her in extra. They have never actually made any profit due to the short time period. But the family took over his investment plan, secured part of my cousin's inheritance, and used a smaller part of her inheritance to invest so that my cousin could have extra passive income for the rest of her life. Edit 3. Because so many people wonder why they didn't go to jail because the entire family requested they didn't go to jail. The evil aunt and uncle had two small children at the time, so having 3 orphan children in the time frame of less than half a year would have been a punishment for everyone involved. Also, this was in early 2000 in a country that doesn't put people as easily into jail for civil cases as the US does. Also, I understand everyone is angry at my aunt and uncle on behalf of my cousin. Thank you. Though, my family doesn't like holding grudges. We do not actively hate them. They were in fact having financial struggles, in secret, due to something unfortunate happening to them, so everyone understood but felt betrayed in the end. My family only wanted my cousin to be /stay supported, and making my other cousins become orphans wasn't an option. Excommunicating them from our family was their way of taking the high road. Experience 8. My aunt and the rich part of the family made my mother clean their bathrooms one day when she told them we couldn't afford food, an unlucky situation. Both parents were unemployed within days, instead of just helping her out. They didn't even pay her. They gave her food they had prepared that day and some potatoes and oil. From that day on, my mother was so hurt and felt so humiliated I decided to pretend they didn't even exist. Experience 9. I cut out my mother's side of the family. Her sister and brother made it their personal goal to financially ruin my parents. Then the other sister piled on. All 3 of them had been borrowing money from my grandparents for years, and when the other sisters sold my grandparents' house out from under them because they can't live on their own anymore, my grandparents were appalled when they were told by my aunt that she was putting them in a home. So, they lived with my parents instead, and the other siblings accused my parents of taking their inheritance. They harassed, stalked, and vandalized my parents' property until both grandparents were dead. I will never forgive them and hope their own children treat them as poorly as they treated my parents and grandparents. Experience 10. Mother was never really present, even after my father died. Brother's father died when I was not an adult. The house was left to 4 of his sons. One brother conned is into signing the house over to him for loan purposes to fix the house up. Stole house. Another brother stole from me and my family with high regularity. Forgave him a bunch of times. Kept doing it, so I gave up. Extended families non-existent. With all that being said, I have a fantastic relationship with the last brother. Experience 11. My sister was cut off about 10 years ago after several incidents involving her spreading rumors about me at my work for a third time. She told one of my bosses that I was a hard substance user. I never touched the stuff. She kept doing that after I warned her. I cut off the rest of my family when I confronted them about multiple historical events of physical abuse and torture from when I was a kid. They refused to talk about it and were verbally abusive about it. I cut them off about 5 years ago, and my life has taken a positive turn since. Experience 12. I grew up in a family that looked perfect from the outside. For kids and parents as a solid unit. One thing we never talked about was Dad's explosive anger, which led to episodes that he would never apologize for. Just be nice later, and we would all just brush it under the rug. Cut to my age of 31, I had been working with my father as a financial planner for 6 years, helping grow our client base. My mother and younger sister work with us as well as assistants. The only problem is every 6 months to a year I'd get fired by my dad. Massive blow up and
Screw you! I have everything, and you have nothing. Get out and I will never talk to you again.
Then he would be nice in a day or two, make some promises to put things in writing, and we'd all just forget it. But you only want to bring up that contract so many times before you worry you will cause another episode. He would say things like,
You really think I would throw you, my daughter-in-law, and grandkids out on the street?
You would think not. Of course, it is what you threaten, and I do get scared, but no, he wouldn't actually do that. Surprise, that's what happens. Business value almost triples. He tortures me until I lose 17 pounds, and I'm a skinny guy, and I quit. Walk away with nothing. We ended up hiring a company that works with family businesses for over $20,000 to help solve our family crisis. Specialists, psychologists, and lawyers are all involved. They write a report after interviewing every family member multiple times for hours and hours, including my siblings who don't work there. The report comes out, my dad loses his mind. Fires the company that wrote the report. I make peace that it is all over. Start interviewing to just work at the bank. I have not been paid in almost 6 months. I have 2 daughters, 3 years old and 1 year old. But my dad comes back and starts making promises again, rehiring the family business specialists. We had a meeting where I agreed to not take the position at the bank after 3 successful interviews. I will manage the business while my father vacations for a month, and he will sell me my own clients. But I agreed because I don't really want to work at the bank. My dad leaves on his trip. I think things are finally getting worked out for the 10th time, but he comes back a month later and won't answer my calls. I go and see him in the office and bring my 1-year-old who hasn't seen for 4 months. He says he is going to finalize the list of clients I am to buy. I haven't talked to my dad since. That was over 6 years ago. He ended up getting me fired from our investment dealer because I contacted his clients even though he had either never met them or they were some of my best friends. Then he sued me. I had no money or any way to fight him, so I just abandoned everything and started over. I don't talk to my dad, mom, brother, older sister, grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins, and many family friends. They all got my father's narrative. The patriarch said get out and everyone else just let it happen. Only my younger sister who worked there knows what happened, and we are very close. We both just don't talk to our family. My wife and I are way better off and super happy. I made more money last year than I ever would have imagined, and I'm my own boss. Experience 13. My birth mother was totally unprepared for motherhood and considered me a threat to her relationship with my dad. She locked me in my room at 3 for several hours a day and hit me with spoons. In middle school, she left over homecoming weekend to see her boyfriend. Dad was still married to her and missed my freshman homecoming. She doesn't care about me at all. Experience 14. Just stress. Every phone call, every visit, holidays, events. Constantly berated, questioned, and feuding. I didn't cut them off in the sense of no contact. I just stopped caring. I don't ask, I don't get involved. Phone calls last 3 minutes because I have nothing to share. Everything is good here. Holidays I eat and leave. And I'm too busy for random drop-ins because kids have sports and friends and I have hobbies. When they come to me and vent, I simply respond in unique ways that they'll figure it out, and I'm unsure what I do in their place.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.